On one side were people who felt that the proposed building threatened the historic character of Market Square. On the other side was a redevelopment board that had been diligent in seeking developers and who felt that new construction in the renewal area was vital to the town's economy.
Well, truthfully, I didn't really like the building, you know, the building as it is, but I thought it would be all right. I felt because of the tax return it would bring, it would be an asset. I thought it was all right to have something different. I didn't want to have the same identical thing that we have. The design itself, I mean, I think if we had a better design, maybe I could have chosen a better design. But
in the absence of a satisfactory design solution, the debate was presented to the National Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. Market Square had been identified as an important historic asset and selected for the National Register of Historic Places, making any new construction in the urban renewal area subject to federal review. The council ruled that the proposed building was inappropriate to its site. The decision to prohibit construction came just as groundbreaking began. The building was never built.
My feeling was that we certainly had enough knowledge and review of the structure that was being proposed to know that it certainly was compatible to the downtown area. Some people don't agree, and this is where we come to our major disagreement on the redevelopment downtown. I feel very strongly that this is 1974, and we've done our job as a very progressive community in restoring all the old buildings of the downtown area. I don't think we should get in the problem of imitating buildings built in 1813, but that we should have something to leave to our future generations of people here, something that we did, something that our particular generation did, something to leave to our children, and that we should also have our own line of buildings, of architectural design. Not that it should be so different, but that it should be something that's different from what was there. And I think the Parcel 8 structure was still one of the better looking buildings of design that I've seen.
How different should new buildings be? To assess the impact of new construction on Market Square, the Advisory Council required an environmental impact study. The study suggests ways to define the qualities of compatibility between one building and another. The approach can be used to develop guidelines for the design of new buildings. What is the overall massing of adjacent buildings? The height, width, and depth? What are the proportions of the individual buildings and their relationship to one another? What are the major building elements? In this case, a base of granite posts and beams, a two-story brick face, and a double-pitched roof. What are the minor relationships? Features such as doorways and windows, and roof elements like firewalls and chimneys. What about the character of detail? Can it be carried into new construction? And finally, the actual materials, their color and texture. All these qualities can be measured and applied to new construction. Most frequently, they're not. Newburyport is no exception. New development in an old urban setting is difficult enough in areas where the past is coherent. When the past has been destroyed, the problem of creating suitable building design and defining land use is more complex. On Newburyport's waterfront, historic tradition called for an architecture whose character was conducive to easy pedestrian movement to the water's edge. Most of the redevelopment proposals made for this site as part of the urban renewal program did not reflect the importance of public access, the right of the townspeople to use the waterfront as a public place. Historically, public access had been guaranteed by law. In the 19th century, alleys or passageways between buildings allowed freedom of movement to and from the water. These passageways evolved from a tradition which existed from the beginning of the town's history. Newburyport's original coastline was considered common ground. As commercial activity, such as boat building, developed, it became necessary to subdivide areas of waterfront for private use, as had been done for agricultural property inland. Though the waterfront lots were privately owned, the public's right to cross the property was legally protected. By 1660, 2 wharves had been built to accommodate the loading and unloading of boats. At the peak of maritime trade in 1826, wharves dominated the waterfront. The finger-like projections simplified the transfer of cargo from large sailing vessels to dockside warehouses. By 1880, many of the docks had been filled to provide new land for the construction of factories and mills. In those parts of the waterfront where the wharves remained, the traditions of public access continued. In areas where wharves had given way to coal sheds, the possibilities of public use of the waterfront disappeared. Rail yards built along the waterfront cut across the traditional paths of access to the water. Newburyport, in developing an industrial waterfront, had built a wall between herself and the river. Though the rail yards are gone, the pattern of industrial use continues to separate the town from the river. The redevelopment of the waterfront creates a unique opportunity to re-establish public uses along the river's edge. Defining an appropriate architectural character for the waterfront has become a major question for the city, as well as for the developers and architects who have participated in the urban renewal process.
It seems to me so obvious that this location should be a generally public kind of place, which means that in the development process, the developers must find uses that serve the broadest spectrum of the public. What kinds of uses could these be? Well, it would certainly be shops. In a place like this, you'd find restaurants. You might find a hotel or an inn.
Public uses and public access are only two of many questions. What should be the character of individual building design? Should the developer be allowed to own the land as well as the buildings? How much parking should the site have to accommodate? Should there be public boating docks or a promenade along the water's edge? In seeking direction to help answer these questions, the patterns of history are providing insight about how to both generate and interpret urban design.
I think we all have agreed that it has made us acutely aware of the history and that a government agency cannot play maliciously, let's say, with history, particularly as it pertains to the buildings in Market Square or in downtown Newburyport, as it pertains to the waterfront. I think that probably, that awareness, that monitoring by the Friends has been good. I don't think anybody denies this, that it has kept us on our toes. And we have been ever increasingly aware. It has caused us to research more what we're doing and to be more sensitive to what the community wants.
Summer in Newburyport, there was a festival of homecoming. In recent years, more and more people have come to experience the city and celebrate New England history. takes place only 1 week a year in Newburyport, at which time there is an outpouring of community spirit and an overt recognition of the importance of history as a communal experience. In the battle to preserve an architectural heritage, each new addition, be it a street, a building, a park, or something like a street light or sign, becomes a link between the past and the future.